Alright, we're back. I'm making another video today. Again, I still have no idea if I'm going to be an intro person. I don't think I'm going to be an intro person. I'm not an intro kind of guy. I kind of just want to start my ramble and go about my day, you know. Last video, I think it was fine. You know, I don't have many issues with it. Except for, I still don't have a microphone. I'm talking to my computer. I could really use a microphone, but, you know, I just don't really want to buy one yet. I'm recording differently. I was using OBS before. OBS kind of sucks, right? So I'm just using, like, the built-in NVIDIA software to, like, get this footage now. So I hope it'll look better, because, like, I looked at the video, it was in like 360p or something. I wasn't crazy about it. The quality wasn't great. It just wasn't really there for me. So we're gonna try something new. You know, we gotta continuously improve, right? I feel like that's the name of the game, is stay consistent and just try and make this stuff a little better every time, right? Yeah, hopefully the video is better. The mic probably isn't gonna be much better. I don't know when I'll get a mic. Damn, that was clean. We'll see. See what happens. So, last time, I say last time like it wasn't a week ago. Last week, when I made my video, I actually had like a notepad I was reading off of. It wasn't like a script, it was like bullet points. It was just to kind of like gather my thoughts. Because the day before I recorded last video, I actually tried to record it then, and I was just rambling. Like, everything I was talking about just made no sense. It wasn't really put together well. I made a few cuts in the last video, just as like I was pausing to like kind of gather my thoughts. I don't know if I'll keep doing that. I might just leave it in, just, I don't know, authenticity or laziness. Not sure, but either way, we're here today. You know, another week, another video. And what I wanted to touch up on today kind of relates to the last video, and honestly just making content for me in general. And it kind of goes along the idea of putting yourself out there, you know? I think the main topic of this video will probably be about putting yourself out there and trying new things, right? Because I think it's important. I think it's important that everyone does. I think it's important that I do, and it's something I've kind of done just in making these videos, right? So the biggest thing is, for me, was, you know, putting myself out there and trying something new. Now, I've made YouTube videos before, right? Again, I already said this before. You know, I made them as a kid. You know, wasn't the best content in the world, I'll admit it. But, you know, it was entertaining, and it's fun to look back on, or think about back on. However, one thing that I suffer from, and I think everyone else suffers from when making like a video of themselves, it's like nails on chalkboard hearing myself talk back sometimes. I think it's just because I'm not used to hearing myself like talk, especially in like a recorded setting. I think that's probably has a lot to do with it. But I think it's also because, like, you know, I'm worried that I'm putting this stuff out there, and like, you know, it's my ideas are invalid. My ideas are, you know, they're odd and wrong. When it's like, in reality, I'm kind of just spilling what's on my mind, and there's really just, you know, there's nothing wrong with that at all. You know, in fact, I'd say it's a good thing for me. I would say making these videos is a good thing for me. You know, it kind of scratches that itch in my brain that, like, you know, as a kid, I always wanted to make YouTube videos. Well, I won't say always, but I did want to make YouTube videos. And it kind of scratches that itch in my brain for me. And it's something I have wanted to do and actually dedicate some time to and give some effort to. You know, I always thought it'd be cool to like try and grow a channel, but I never really took the plunge, right? You know, I never really I never really fully committed to that. And I figured for my next little step in, putting myself out there and trying something new, it would be to, start a YouTube channel. So that's what my plunge is, right? Is this channel is trying something new and trying to stick with it. But I think it's important, right? I think it's important that you do stuff like that. You need to do stuff like that. You need to put yourself out there, and you need to get uncomfortable, right? There are certain situations where you should be comfortable, but like when you're trying to do new things and you're trying to make some changes, some positive changes, it's going to be uncomfortable, right? Because the truth is, if you don't make changes, if you don't put yourself out there, and quite frankly, sometimes if you don't just straight up embarrass yourself, you're not going to change. You're gonna stay the same. You're not gonna learn anything, and you're not gonna be able to grow. And that's kind of the point of putting yourself out there and trying new things, right? That's the point of trying out different activities, trying out, maybe let's say you're like, you're trying out like a different style of clothing, right? You're trying out like a different hobby. And you're just, you're putting yourself out there. And I think mostly when I say putting myself out there, I think that means that putting whatever you're doing into the public eye. I think that's where a lot of people tend to kind of lose themselves and get too embarrassed and don't want to do anything. It's because it's in the public eye, right? If you want to get into fashion and you're not into fashion, you try on a new outfit and you're like, well, this is really new and this isn't really me. And everyone's going to see it. For me, it's these YouTube videos, right? My ideas are, I don't know if my ideas are valid, but everyone's going to hear it. Another thing I could say is like drawing. The drawing thing that I talked about last video. Love drawing. I don't know if my drawings are good enough to be entertained by people, right? So it's like, I feel like when I say you need to put yourself out there more, I feel like I'm speaking specifically about scenarios where it's within the public eye. Because let's say I try the guitar, right? I gotta be honest with you, if I try the guitar, or if I try like a new instrument, or if I just try something new that is just me, I'm not gonna really feel like much of a pressure into doing it beyond literally just doing it, right? Just sitting down and doing something that's difficult and new. If I wanted to play an instrument, and I'm bad at the instrument, and then I do it for 30 minutes, I'm like, well, I'm not great at this, that sounded awful. You don't really lose anything. But when you do things that is put into the public eye, it feels like you lose something, right? It feels like everyone's like, wow, that wasn't great what you did, and we didn't like that. And you're like, well, that sucks. I want people to like it. I've got a little off track. This is why I had my notepad. The point is you need to do stuff, regardless of it's in the public eye or if it's not. You need to put yourself out there, and you need to try to do different things, right? That could be joining a club, that could be trying to make new friends, it could be anything, really. But what's important is that you do it, because if you don't do it, you're not going to get to where you want to be, right? I think it's important to have dreams, aspirations, goals and desires. But if you don't put yourself out there to try them, at the end of the day, you're going to be the same person, When the day is done and you look back on, hey, maybe I could have put myself out there more today. You're not going to have anything to really show for it. Right? You're not going to have anything to be like, well, I tried today. But I think that's important. I think it's important that even if you don't succeed, right? Even if you don't succeed in putting yourself out there or doing completely what you wanted to do, I think it's important that you at least try. Let's say you wanted to try a club, or you want to try to meet new people. You go to the gathering, and it's new people, right? It's just a little awkward, and you don't really know what you're doing. And let's say Let's say you just can't deal with it, right? You meet these people, you've been talking to them for 30, 40 minutes, and then you make up some kind of excuse and you leave. I gotta be honest, I've definitely done this before. This has definitely happened to me where I'm like, I'm sorry, like I'm trying here, but like it's just not working today. That's okay. You know, that's completely okay. It's okay if you at least try, right? You have to get in there and you have to at least try. In that scenario, you know, you didn't, I don't think you fully spent as much time as you would have liked to, putting yourself out there, but you still did it, right? And I think it's less about how well you do and more about how much you do it. I think consistency is the birthplace of success. So like if you want to be like a more social person, if you want to meet more people, and day one, you know, you kind of forfeit it, but you still you still went out there and you still tried your best for a little while. That's great, right? That's great. That's something to work on for next time, right? It's about baby steps. And I think that's the most important thing with these kinds of activities where you have to really put yourself out there is it's about baby steps, right? These videos, I'm not forcing myself to make these. I'm just kind of making them when I would like to. You know, I have a general time frame, right? I'd like to make one video a week. That was kind of my goal. I'd like to make one video a week. It could be out whatever I want it to. I don't have to go crazy with the video editing. I just play a video game I love. And that's really it. Those are all the requirements. And I set these base level requirements for video making because that's the best way I feel for me to really stay with it. If I really want this to become like a part of my life that I'm proud of and I can talk about, and a part of my life that, you know, I'd like it to stay with me, right? That's something that you have to slowly build, because this is new to me, right? For the most part, let's be honest, for the most part, this is new to me. I've never made videos. And you have to take it slow, right? Beyond just the level of comfortability you have to take it slow. Because you're learning new things and you don't want to impose a ton of pressures on yourself so early on. Because if not, you're not going to enjoy it. I think when you're starting something new and you're starting something that's requires you to really, you know, put yourself out there, you need to take it slow. And you need to enjoy it. You need to cultivate the enjoyment for the actual like hobby or whatever you're doing. You need to cultivate that. You know, sometimes, with the exception of, okay, moving away from the hobbies, sometimes you got to put yourself out there for like an interview or something. I feel like that's more something you have to like, you prepare for, or like a test. I think that's less about putting yourself out there and more like, you know, sometimes there's stuff that you just got to take care of, right? And it's stressful. I feel like that's a different thing. What I specifically like want to focus on is like activities to kind of improve your life. I kind of just went in a circle there, but you know, just to clarify that there are different ways to put yourself out there. But I'm like kind of specifically focusing on like putting yourself out there in a social aspect, and a hobby aspect, and just different activities you want to try. But you need to cultivate that love for it first, right? You know, I don't want to make these videos. When I sat down and really thought about making videos, I didn't want to say, okay, I want 2 videos a day. I want good quality video, like good quality editing. I want solid like audio. If I had done that from the start, I would have made maybe 2 videos, and that would have been it. And this YouTube channel would have been abandoned immediately. I think by just giving myself an outlet to kind of ramble whatever I want about whatever I want, it lets me kind of be myself. You know, I don't have to like force myself to do it. It's natural, and I think that's how it should be. That's how it should be for this scenario, anyways. That's specifically upon like the topic of, you know, me creating videos. For me specifically, right? Going back to like a social event, like a social thing. You know, you have to really focus on just the little things and enjoying it. And sometimes, you know, sometimes it doesn't work out the way you want it to. You know, maybe I miss a video, again, maybe the social event doesn't go how you want it to go, or it doesn't go as long as you would have liked it to go. But what's important is that you keep trying. You keep trying to put yourself out there. You keep trying new things, because you don't want to stay the same person, right? You want to grow and you want to change. I think growth and change can be scary, but it's also important, right? If you want to become the person that you want to be, it's very important to put yourself out there, because if not, you won't change. You'll be the same person walking around. So for the most part, that's really all my thoughts. That was not really a structured rambling. I don't think it's ever going to be, if I'm going to be honest. I might get better at organizing my thoughts, and I might write my notes. I just didn't write my notes this week. Voice crack. Yeah, I didn't write any notes this week. It was a busy week. All right. School's rough. School's rough these times. But I just want to get on here and kind of talk about that. Again, I don't know if I'm an outro guy. I don't think I'm an outro guy. And I don't have a way to end this before, because no one's parking next to me this time. So that's all I got. Bye bye.